Fairwell. Here. Olson.
Here.
D. Peterson.
Here.
J. Peterson. Swaysinger.
Here.
Before you are the minutes from our August 8th special meeting and August 13th regular meeting.
Motion to approve those minutes.
Thank you, Tim.
Second.
And Doug. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. At this time, can we stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, so moving to approve the agenda. Mr. Alvey, do you have any changes at this time?
No, just what we've had posted.
Okay, and I have no changes either, so we need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Thank you, Doug.
Second.
And Rachel. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Based on the agenda items before you, are there any conflicts of interest as indicated by SDCL 3-23 that have not been previously disclosed? I do not have any.
None for me.
None.
None. Okay. With that, we will move on to visitors to be heard. At this time, members of the public may address the school board on any topic that is not currently on our agenda. We would ask that you use the microphone at the podium, state your name and address. Remarks will be limited to 5 minutes, and no decision will be made at this time. Seeing that we have no visitors, we will move on to Tanager Happenings.
I'll introduce Dawn Worth, our Special Services Director, and she has some special education indicators that she'd like to present to the board for information tonight.
Good evening, everybody. I just wanted to share a little bit. I gave everybody a copy in front of you of the indicators that we report on in special education. These indicators are reported to the federal government after we submit them. Each state is combined, and so for everybody who doesn't have a copy, it's up on the screen. But and there are 3 pages. And I always look at the colors. I'm kind of a color person, so there's more green than there is red, so that's a good thing. Those are the indicators there, and keep in mind, look at the year here. It's always 2 years behind. 16-17 is where this information comes from. We report, and this is just special education students in this. So, of course, graduation rate up there, we don't have 10 students, special ed students that graduated that year, and we seldom do in Vermillion. So that's something that I have the numbers on, but it's not reported out to the public because it's such a small group. And I think there were 7 during that year, 16-17. The dropout rate is up there, and we have to report on that. There are some indicators that are automatic. Trying to look. You have to have 100% participation rate in some of them. In the reading, you see the statewide assessment. I guess I could look on my own. The statewide assessment, reading and math, our participation rate that year was 100%. So we had all our students that took that assessment. The proficiency rate there, even though reading for special ed students, a lot of our students are qualified under that reading component, and so to meet that target, that makes me really happy. And math is less. There's less students that took that assessment, so we didn't meet that target. As we go down them, suspension, expulsion, we met both of those as far as students being pulled out of classrooms for more than 10 days. We track that in each of the buildings, each grade level, all students. The least restrictive environment is how much time the students are in the general ed classroom. And so that first one, 5A there, is 67% of our students are in that regular general ed classroom, 80 to 100% of the time. The second one there, 40 to 79%, they are pulled out more, those students. Of course, we want them to be inclusive as much as we can, and we could do that, but it would take more staffing to meet that, so we do what we can with what we have. So. Any questions about that first page?
On number 2, the dropout rate, so the target's 2.8%, and the district rate was 2.63, but we still do meet that target?
Yes, because you want it low.
Okay.
You want the dropout rate low.
Gotcha.
So the lower, the better with that one.
Is that the way the proficiency rate for reading, is that, or not, for math, I guess?
Proficiency, actually, you want it high. And we met that. I don't know how we met it, because I looked at the numbers, and 23.53 was proficient, but the state rate, I do know, because it's by growth. After I said that, it goes by the percentage of growth you made from the year before. So we made enough growth.
Change between like 15, 16.
Correct. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. And the second page here, the preschool students, that 6A and 6B is the preschool placement. And this is one that's really hard for us to meet, 6A, because all of our early childhood students are pulled into a special ed classroom. They're all special ed students, even though we have preschool. And if we had some of our special ed kids into the preschool classroom, we could do that, but it's a paid preschool and it's always full, so we don't have places to put them in. And this is common for a lot of districts. A lot of districts don't meet this indicator just because of that. And then the separate classroom there for those early childhood kids, that would be the students that come in for speech or just come in for some of the service and aren't there the whole time for early childhood classroom. That childhood, the number 7 there, that NA, they're not pulling data for that yet. That's a new part of that indicator. So it'll be when we can show growth from one year to the next. And again, we don't have enough students to make those indicators for them to pull information from them until we get down again to parent involvement. 8 is parent involvement, that we do surveys of special education students' parents. So every year we try to get as many of those back as we can, and we do pretty well with that. Any questions on that page? And this last page is the race and ethnicity. They pull information from Infinite Campus on how many students we have in each race or ethnic group that are special ed qualified. So we meet those all the time. The disability categories also, if we have a lot of students who are speech or a lot of students who are specific learning disability, then they would want to know how that all, they look at that closer. So And number 11 is the timeline. We have 25 days. Once we get consent, 25 school days to test students, and that is a 100% indicator that we have met. So. And the other ones there, we don't have enough students, again, in those to report. Some of these we actually send information in. Some of them we put on campus. There's different ways that they collect the data.
So in these areas where it's talking about prior to age 3, is that referring to the Birth to 3 program?
Mm-hmm. Correct, okay. Yeah. And I submit data from when we test them and the timelines, and if they qualify for the Part B, then from Part C.
Okay.
And really, just because of my background, the ones that we have read, this would never, we're doing really well. And that's not just because I'm in this position, it is, you know, we just are doing well. I'm proud of everybody that helps me with all of this, so it's good.
Well, thank you for all your efforts, because I know it takes a lot of paperwork.
We have a great team. We do.
So.
We have a great group of people.
That's wonderful. Thank you so very much. All right. We have no unfinished business at this time, so we'll move straight into new business. The hope here is to kind of move through items A through I with one motion, if possible. So we have the approval of homecoming parade.
Yes, basically we're looking at October 12th, 1:30 parade. Cammie and Lenny will be participating in the city council meeting next week to ask for permission for sure that the city's still supportive of that, but all indications are they want us to continue that tradition. The other part of this is they'll be asking for a public dance for the homecoming dance that evening outdoors. We attempted that last year, but with weather it was unsuccessful. And of course, just for FYI, that we would have coronation on Monday evening, October 8th of that week.
So the dance would be on the 12th as well, or on the 13th?
Sorry, the 13th, Saturday.
Okay.
No candy again for the parade?
No candy for the parade. I'm sorry.
Hot topic. Perfect, thank you. Next, we have the approval of classified and coaching and advisor employment. We have Stephanie Dominguez as an EA, Mackenzie Stone as an EA, Brevin Clemen as an EA, Jeslyn Bean is Title VI.
Correct.
Timothy Bellis as an EA, Bailey Nippling Flags, and Kurt Seibel as Science Olympiad for middle school.
Correct.
Okay. Any questions on that?
Did you have in your packet as well the 4 additional BSA members?
I did not. In addition, we have 4 BSA, one for Connor Kastrick, Brooklyn Halverson, Hannah Winther, and Haley Schock. Thank you. Next, we have approval increase of certified teaching contracts due to personnel lane changes according to the 2018-19 negotiated agreement. We have Teremy Hill would be now with her master's at $800.
Correct. Last month we had an error of $500 instead of the $800. So.
And Jamie Hopton for $500.
Correct.
We also have the approval of resignations for Ashley Groh as an EA, Jay Pletzwhite as the alt school person, and Darren Lopez also as an EA. Item E, we have the approval of adult volunteer Julie Burnett for tennis, and we'll move into executive session for that other individual for personnel issues. Item F, we will have approval of the surplus property. We have a Kawai piano, a Beltone odometer, and 2 food service hot carts that are going up for surplus. We have 4 individuals needing approval for open enrollment applications, 19-8-OE through 19-11-OE. We also have for approval a custodial parent request. Did you want to?
Correct. This particular person would like to have their student live with an aunt until they move to town in a month, so she's referring temporary rights over to her sister here in town.
Okay. Any questions on that?
Question on E, the adult volunteer. Where will she be volunteering at?
Julie will be helping with the tennis program.
Okay.
Next item we have for discussion is policy updates. In your packet, we have basically 3 items for updates. We have the clerical services, benefits. As Finance Committee, you want to talk about this a little bit?
Yes. During Finance Committee last year, one of the sections that were being studied by the Finance Committee was clerical benefits, and at that point it was determined that we have 9-month clerical folks that are receiving paid holidays, which differ from other 9-month positions of the same lane, basically. And the Finance Committee brought to the Policy Committee to look at changing that for next year. They would still be entitled to those benefits through this year, but next year removing the 5 paid holidays from the clerical portion of Section GDBCA, clerical benefits.
Policy Committee was on the same page, felt that that was appropriate.
Yes. All right. Next, we had school board meetings. We had talked about on the few months that we have 2 meetings a month, potentially taking it down to 1. And we had decided that we would probably want to keep our June 2nd meeting just because we're closing out the end of the fiscal year, and that if we needed a second meeting at any other point during the year, it could be at the discretion of the board to be able to hold that.
So really the only policy change would be that we would not list all of the months that you choose to do that. The wording would change to say that the board may have a second meeting of the month, with the idea that we probably would always have June, but we don't have to publish that until you guys decide for sure. But
as I recall, some of the discussion, just for the public discussion about that, we as board members do get paid per meeting. Correct. It's a cost savings measure. Hopefully we can get all our business done at that 1 meeting per month, save those other 4 months, unless we do need a special meeting. Right. Saves the facility. I know USD helps us with this facility, but it also means nobody has to get anything organized.
Correct.
And then the next topic of conversation is student conduct on the buses.
Yes, in section JFCC of your board policy manual or district policy manual, we had a list of rules that for conduct on public school buses. And in talking in conjunction with American Bus Company, our providers, they had a few new things that they would like to add. They were all the same rules that you currently see, and then they extended a few of them to add courtesies to how do you display respect at bus stops? In other words, don't leave your trash at the bus stops and for other people to pick up. One of the policies that was being implemented but was never really in writing was people would ask, how do we get an additional bus stop in town? The bus drives by my house. Couldn't the bus just stop at my home and pick up my child? And the rule that the bus company and the school district has used in the past that now will become in writing is we need at least 6 students to be at each bus stop to constitute a stop. Otherwise, obviously, you can imagine stopping at each house along the way. You would never get out of town before the end of the evening if we went and delivered home to home. And then the third additional discussion was basically just asking parents to keep the bus drivers and the schools informed if there's a change. We don't want to have a change in route. So if my child is supposed to be on the route going home, I cannot ask the bus driver to veer from that route, established route, to go drop off, let's say, at the university at my new daycare, because obviously the route would be altered and it would alter everyone after that. That's something that they would have to work out with the bus company and see if there's other reasons to move that. But right now we've had requests, mainly last spring, where somebody would want to change the routes of their child's rather regularly. And we'd rather keep those routes similar and the same without having any alterations so that families aren't being impacted after that stop, because as you know, every stop after that would be altered in some way. So very common sense rules, things that they've implemented, and now we've just updated the policy after some consideration.
So this wording refers to the transportation director in a couple places, and then another term in a few others. I think they're synonymous. Number 21 says director of transportation. Are those with ABC, or do we have a person designated in the school district?
The director, Shane, at the bus barn or the bus company would be the director of transportation. In some of those places, you'll see that the school is also noted as perhaps a disciplinarian or an investigator of incidents. In that case, both entities would investigate or be involved if there was a disciplinary action.
Okay. Is it possible to then list that contact information in the policy?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Then you checked on cameras.
Yes. Some of you may have noticed the story a few weeks ago in Tri-Valley School District north of Sioux Falls, where they had issues with people running past the stopped bus when the safety arm and stop sign were extended, which of course is illegal. Traffic on both sides must stop because we don't know if the students are crossing the road. That school district chose to add bus cameras to the outside of the bus on their stop signs, so they could get a good shot of the cars coming and going. In talking with our bus provider, they added this year bus cameras inside the buses. So now we have front dash cams and views in the back of the bus to see the behavior that's going on, but also we can see out the front window. Maybe not as clearly as a side camera would be on a stop sign, but we do get a chance to glimpse of cars. How we've chosen to handle cars that are infringing on the law is our bus drivers are asked that typically you notice a car is coming up to a stop at a rate of speed that they're not going to stop. Most drivers can anticipate that. What they've asked to do, since we have recordings on our buses, they are to say, red Malibu, license plate South Dakota 2753, ran the stop sign. Then that car continues on. When that bus driver reports back to the bus barn, they review their footage on the camera, and then they can retrieve that information and they can make a incident referral to law enforcement. So that's how they've chosen to handle that, rather than adding the additional cost of cameras outside the bus. But we're not immune to it. All school districts have problems with people that fail to stop safely around buses. So everybody's handling it slightly different. But
Thanks for looking into that.
You bet.
Are there any other questions? Then we need a motion to approve new business items A through I.
Motion to approve items A through I.
Thank you, Rachel.
Second.
And Tim. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Reports, Mr. Alvey.
Just several things here. I did send out a sheet there that talks a little bit about briefly some things. Just lots of thank yous that go out to our students and our staff and our community members for the start of our school year. We've had a great start. I wanted to thank our EMS and fire folks and our police departments. The first day of school, they were stationed at each of our buildings with safety equipment out in the streets. Just another visual aid to slow down that first few days of school when kids were returning to school for the first time. It's nice to have extra reinforcement there when kids are coming to and from school, because they're pretty excited and they don't always observe the right-of-ways and crosswalks, so it was nice to have those folks there. Many of you might know that we've been having some challenges with Infinite Campus. That's a new program that we're using for our lunch program. We've used Infinite Campus for years for lots of other things, namely information, documentation and grading and things inside the district. But we've added the lunch program as a component. And in an ideal world, then people would have instantaneous information from Infinite Campus to the school. Anytime a new student registers for school, we'd have the most up-to-date information. Nobody gets lost in the shuffle of the old School Reach Messenger program, the lunch program, and Infinite Campus. They don't talk nicely to each other. So by going to one platform, we'd hope to have a pretty seamless transition. However, our pay online version for parents to pay for our lunch programs is not functional at this point, and it's causing us some headaches. But our LSI folks, the lunch people, and our IT group are working daily trying to improve that situation. Not sure when we'll have a solution, but the Infinite Campus folks at the national level are trying to help us out with that. But we're kind of small potatoes at this point, so we're just doing the best we can to manage that. We're continuing to meet with stakeholders within the school district and outside the school district, namely all of our classified groups, teacher groups. We're meeting with individuals, coaches, mainly to set the stage for the year, but say thanks for the job that they're doing and being a part of our school, but also to set the stage for what's coming up. And then those people also filter out and talk to other folks about our upgrades, any news in the district, and of course, I continue to meet with Rotary and Chamber and other civic organizations about our opt-out and the upcoming important issues in our district. Something that I would like to get some thoughts of the board on at our next meeting is talking about our Tanager logo. We do receive a lot of questions about who can use that and what rights do they have. Currently, our Booster Club has the most rights to it because they sell apparel with our logos on that, and then we receive money back, of course, for our students through the Booster Club. But we do have other groups that would like to participate in that, and we need to get the board and our boosters and our community on the same page there. So that'll be something that we'll talk about, policy or committee, or some group needs to come up with an answer to that question before next meeting, please. We are working, as you know, on proposals to partner up with a local contractor for our CTE class. We have a building design class that in the last few years have built homes that were auctioned off at the end of the school year for people in the community. And to streamline that and to perhaps even enhance our program, we'd like to partner up with a local contractor to build a house for that contractor. And in turn, those contractors have to require, or we would require a proposal of those folks to come in and help teach the courses. Basically, they have to provide resources, all the materials, all of the equipment that we would need. And of course, at the end, we would expect some sort of donation to our program. So right now, we're in talks with AMS, Mart Brothers, and Walker Construction, and we've met privately with all of those groups, and we're asking them to gather a proposal to return back to our district before the next school board meeting so that we will have an opportunity to review it and decide which program would best suit the needs of our district as well as our students in the IT buildings course. So we're excited about the opportunities that it has, because our contractors know the latest and greatest things that are happening in the construction world, so we're excited about this partnership. Of course, at the end of the evening, I'd like to gather with each of the committees and find some dates that we would be able to put down for some committee meetings. And at this point, we are a couple weeks out from our new website launch. Some of you that are visiting our website notice that our old website is still up and functional, but we've been kind of bragging that we've got a new one in its works, and that hopefully by September 24th, we'll go live with that. At this point, Erickson Solutions has been working with our IT department and a few volunteers to sort of arrange that, and then those were made available to our administrative team and to our school board to sort of tweak and say what they like or dislike about the functionality of the potential new site. And we're trying to give a fresh look, a very clean and lean look to the website, and yet still provide the one-stop shop that consumers and patrons expect of a website, to go there and find things rather easily, but also be able to make it look different and nicer than it's maybe looked in the last few years. Last couple things, our enrollment, we don't have a hard, fast number on our enrollment at this point. We are looking at probably, we have about 1276 listed currently. Last year we were funded at 1219, so we know that we're up, but the difficult thing that we're contending with at this point is we still have students that are enrolled with us that haven't shown up for school yet. But we have not received a transfer of records from any other school district. So technically there are students for the first 15 days, and at which time we'd have to take them off our rolls. But normally we would have a request and know where these students belong before we would take them and unenroll them. So we don't know for sure what our numbers are. We could have as many as 25 students be in that boat where we don't know where they're at this point. They have not declared they're not coming here, but they have not shown up for the first day of school yet either. So, but all indications are that our numbers are up, and I hope that we'll have by the last week in September on the official count date an accurate number to provide at that point. But we're excited that numbers seem to be up. I'd like to thank the Vermillion Middle School staff for the work that they did when we had our break-in at the middle school last Friday. You know, we had staff that alerted the rest of us about the incident because they were there early. So I'd like to thank those people for doing the precautious thing and making sure that they informed law enforcement, and then law enforcement came in number and took over the situation and did a great job of making us all feel safe and making sure the building was as normal as could be for students to learn. At this point, they're still investigating, and at some point we may know more details, but right now they're just doing their work, and we're continuing on with the job of educating kids. I want to give an A+ effort to the Austin staff as well, because we did have a health scare with a visitor at our building at the elementary school a few weeks back, and our staff executed the exercise of the emergency plan to a T. The gentleman that had the health emergency was revived, and the team did everything that they were asked to do, and they called law enforcement and EMS, and those folks showed up and did a great job. And so, oh, I'm sorry, Jolly, thank you. Yeah, it was the Jolly staff. Thanks for the reminder. The person there is doing well and recovering, and is counting his lucky stars for the folks that did everything that and more than they probably thought they could do. And we wanted to thank those folks for that. And finally, as we're getting near the third week of school, we're finding that our bus routes are really crowded, which is a good sign in the sense that we have a lot of kids riding our buses. However, not all of those students may have potentially purchased bus tickets to be on the buses. And they're riding across town and things without paying the fees that are associated with that. And right now, our numbers of people for paid passes are down from this time last year, but our student enrollment is up. So we are sending out the message to parents that, during this week, you need to get those passes taken care of. Kids, if you're going to another school for something, please make sure that you've got your passes displayed on your book bags as required. Otherwise, starting next week, you will be walking. So if you don't have your pass, you've lost your pass, get it replaced. If you've forgotten it, make sure you get it taken care of, because next week we will be enforcing the policy of we only take the riders who have paid for the bus trips. So lots of things to discuss, lots of good things going on in the district, but that's what I have for tonight.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. In reference to the Infinite Campus, when I was on there, I saw a spot on there where you could update your information, your contact information. Yes. It didn't appear that was up and running yet either. Okay. Because I tried to change some things and it wouldn't do that. But for parents, that's a great way. Our cards sit at the schools for so long and we kind of forget. We change it, emails and phone numbers and things like that. So you'll be able to, once everything's up and running in Infinite Campus, be able to go in there 24 hours a day and update your information. So the school has great contact. So, and in reference to the Tanager logo, I'm not 100%, but my understanding was, and Jim, correct me, but I thought that the image of our logo actually belonged to the boosters, and that the boosters gave permission for the use of that, okay. I believe is the case. So okay. We'll have to clarify that, but I believe that that's the case.
Correct. I'm not sure that means we can then allow another company.
Right. Yes, I think we have to go through the boosters for approval. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Alvey. Sheila, do you have anything for us at this time? Okay. I do not have anything. Do any of the committees have anything at this time? We've already talked policy. So I think we'll have to have building committee. We'll definitely need to be one that'll set up an appointment, especially after the break, and we have to go through and make some updates over at the middle school. What other committee do we need to set up?
Finance, I guess it wouldn't hurt to put them down the line a little bit. It'd be nice to have a couple meetings with each of these groups prior to Christmas. Okay. So even if it's setting something up for October at this point, there's nothing burning urgent on any of them, but just to maybe get your calendars prepared. Okay, perfect. Thank you. With that, we will move to financials. Sheila.
Okay. Beginning on page 40 is the business manager report for the month of August. And there's nothing out of the ordinary unless you have a question.
What's with the $500,000 jump to general fund for August? Cash balance. I didn't give you a heads up on that, Sheila.
What?
From last year.
I didn't give you, from last year to this year.
From last year to this year? The majority of that is we brought over the MERP dollars.
This year we just did? No,
last year, but that carries forward. So if you're looking at $1.8 million to $2.3 million, yeah. Most of that is the MERP. Still there. And then a few dollars of unemployment, but most of it's the MERP we brought over. And I'm thinking we brought it over in around February. Month of February. Following that is the cash balance comparison to the previous 5 years, and then also just the tax comparison. And those are informational. The claims themselves do begin on page 38. Do you have any questions?
Out of curiosity, on the trust and agency accounts.
Okay.
So for class of 2018, the balance that was there, was that rolled over to class 2019?
No, it has to go to general fund. And that's why we always ask them to use it all.
Okay.
If I remember, they just about did.
Yeah.
There was very little in the class.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Can they transfer it to other classes?
As long as they make the motion and have
As long as
minutes.
they make the motion?
Right. As long as the students decide to do with it. They have to decide before the end of the year. And if they don't decide to do anything with it, then it goes to general fund. Correct.
Motion to approve financials?
Thank you, Rachel.
Second.
And Doug, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Anything that you'd like to see on our future agenda? We haven't. With that, our next meeting will be on Tuesday, October 9th, due to the holiday on Monday, the 8th. We really do appreciate everybody taking time to support the Vermillion School District. If you're thinking further down the line, I can't believe I'm saying this, the meeting after that's in November 12th, right back here at the Neuharth Center. We are in need of an executive session this evening for personnel matters for SDCL 1-25-2. Need a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Thank you, Tim.
Second.
And Rachel, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We're in executive session. Thank you.